Metal Jesus here, and I am back again with Anna. How's it going?
It's going.
That's your thing?
It's my thing.
So why are you here today?
I'm here today to talk to you some more about the Sega Saturn. Because it's awesome. We can't talk about it enough on this channel.
That's right.
So today we're going to be talking about the Sega Saturn buying guide. So that includes accessories, games, pretty much everything you need to know about picking up awesome stuff for your Sega Saturn collection.
That's right. The Sega Saturn is so killer. I love collecting for this, so I think it's going to be a good video.
I think so.
Let's take a look. Okay, so we're going to start with the console itself.
Yes.
And here is my console.
Ooh.
Ooh. Now, right off the bat, you mentioned that mine looks a little bit different than yours.
It looked a little funny.
I don't know if that's true or not.
No, it looks fine, but yeah, I have the Model 2, which has like the round buttons, and there's nothing about the physical hardware that's different. It just has a very different style to it.
Yeah, pretty much. So there is two models, like you mentioned. So this is Model 1 right here. And kind of going around the console itself, first of all, I like the look of the console.
Yeah, it looks good.
It does look really cool, right?
Yeah.
I think Sega just nailed it out of the park. I just love the look of this.
Yeah.
So a couple things here. Power button. It is a top loader, which is very nice.
It
so less things to wear out.
Yes.
There's also a reset button here, and then there's two controller ports in the front. Pretty standard stuff. One of the interesting things is on the top here. So when I first got my Saturn, I was like, ooh, maybe it'll play Genesis games. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool, but you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, what it actually does is it's a slot for expandable memory. So those really graphic-intensive games that say, hey, you need to insert a memory card into it.
When I first got into the Saturn, doing some research, everyone was like, get this card right here.
Yeah.
And that's really important because, the Saturn is considered kind of a failure here in North America, right?
Yeah.
Because it didn't sell very well. It had a pretty short, I guess, shelf life. But that's not the case in Japan. And so while we got a couple hundred games, over in Japan, in total, there's like 1,000 games.
So many games.
So many games. And so when you want to start collecting for Saturn, you almost inevitably start collecting imports. And this thing is awesome.
It is everything you need it to be.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, you just pop this in on the top right here, and a menu comes up that allows you to do a bunch of really cool stuff. One is just you can enable cheats.
Yep.
So there's got built-in cheat codes. Also, there is a save slot manager thing. So basically, you can transfer over from the internal over to this cartridge. Plus, it adds the extra RAM, which is what yours does there. So the games that need it, it has it.
Yeah, so it's a 3-in-1. You don't need a hard mod your console. You can just get that cart because you can do everything you need to do, and it's great for starting out your Sega Saturn collection.
Yeah, definitely a must. But although you mentioned it there, is that yours is modded, so you didn't do this, right?
No, mine has a chip and a switch on the back of it, and you can get that done, but honestly, the action replay is just an easier way to go, especially if you don't have any soldering skills or you don't want to send your Sega Saturn to someone who can do that for you.
Right. So another thing that's kind of interesting about this is that when I first turn it on, almost inevitably, I have to type in, or I have to choose what day it is and the time. Mm-hmm. And that is because inside here on the back, there is a watch battery. And essentially, you have to replace these every year or two.
Yeah.
It's a fairly standard battery. It only costs a couple bucks. You can find it pretty much everywhere. But just be aware that when you buy one used, you probably will need to change the battery.
Yeah.
And that is how your save games are stored. So when that battery dies, if you haven't moved over to a cartridge, your save games are gone. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing that's interesting about this port in the back here is that I haven't done this myself, but supposedly you can get like an adapter or some sort of card that will allow you to play VCDs, which was a movie format that came out before DVD. Yeah, very popular in Asia, but not so much here in North America. That's why most people don't even know what that is.
I didn't know what that was.
We kind of skipped over and went straight to DVD.
Yeah.
Also, there's a karaoke option for this back here as well. So
good.
I know Reggie loves karaoke, so he's probably really
Reggie?
excited. I know. Then basically back here, the only thing really to know is that there's obviously a power cable. It doesn't have an external power supply. It's built into it, which is really nice. And then there's the video port right here.
Yep.
And so the video port by default will do, in North America, it'll do composite or S-video.
Yes.
Very nice. So it actually, S-video looks pretty decent on an HD TV.
Yep.
But if you are in Europe or you want the best quality, you want to go with RGB, which is SCART, which I haven't done yet. Have you done that?
I haven't done that.
I know.
But people always try to get the best quality out of their systems for good reason.
Yeah.
The games on this look awesome, so why wouldn't you want it? But I just haven't done it yet.
I don't have a converter yet.
Yeah.
So that's my excuse. But
yeah.
At some point, I probably will convert a lot of my consoles over to RGB SCART for that reason, because it is technically the best way to view these games.
Yeah.
So.
And you can notice the difference. You do.
Yeah, you definitely can. So, all right. Well, we blew through the hardware. I know, but you have an amazing collection, and you brought over a bag of accessories, and there are a ton for this system.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look.
All right, so let's talk about accessories.
Yes.
We got a lot of them to go over, and that's just fine because there's pretty much an accessory for every type of game. So we're going to start out with kind of your fighting accessories. And we have some awesome arcade sticks here. I have two versions. This is the ASCII Saturn
which looks
stick.
really nice.
And the buttons, they feel so good.
Yeah.
I don't feel the buttons.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Oh, and it's clicky too.
Yeah. And then we got this one, no clicky.
No, that's the official Saturn.
It's the official Sega Saturn.
I do.
stick.
That's got turbo though and stuff on it, which is really nice for shooters.
You just bump up the speed just like that. Yeah, but it's really, really great when you want to play Street Fighter or any of those other games to have an arcade stick.
Absolutely.
And these are just, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I can tell.
Here
That's
to pick
really
up one.
nice. Huh, cool.
And moving right along, we got...
Every console had a light gun.
Yes, even the Wii.
Yeah,
You know?
I know.
And so there's some great light gun games that we might talk about later on, but if you have a CRT TV, or you should get one so you can play some light gun games, the Saturn also had this as an accessory.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then here is the very first version of the controller that was released in the US. It's a cool looking controller, I think. It looks very futuristic.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on. It does have that very future, 2000s vibe.
Yeah. However, that said, I don't like this controller that much. The D-pad is a weird concave thing. And I don't know, something about it just doesn't feel very exact. Also, these shoulder buttons barely move. They're not great buttons. I like I said, I like the look of it. It's not my favorite.
Well, let's try this one out.
I know.
Let's see if this is the controller for you.
So this is the second controller that was released for the Saturn.
Yeah.
And this is considered one of the best retro design controllers of all time.
I love it. It's just so easy to hold.
Yep.
All the buttons are right where they should be.
Yep.
Everything clicks and responds well.
The D-pad feels like a solid, well-made D-pad.
Yeah, and there's a good cable length on it too. So it's a great controller.
And those shoulder buttons right there feel.
Those shoulders.
Yeah. All right, and then there was another accessory, another controller.
Yes.
And you have the box for it somewhere around here.
Yeah, I do. It would have been smart to have it up here, but surprise!
Surprise!
Yeah, so Nights into Dreams came with the game and then introducing the 3D control pad. And so this is the iconic Sega Saturn controller. Look at that spaceship. I mean...
I know. Actually, it looks like a Star Trek spaceship, right?
Yeah, it should take off on its own. It doesn't, but it's not bad. It's a decent controller as well.
And proper analog triggers, which feel really nice.
And the thumb.
There's arguments back and forth. Was this the first analog control on a console, or was it the N64? It depends on who you ask. I'm sure there's an official answer out there. But this is definitely a really nice controller, especially for that game, where where
you need
you're
to look around and
you're flying, and it's very fluid movement.
Yep.
It definitely is night and day. And there's a little switch down here, so you can go back and forth if the game supports it between that and the D-pad. So you get a best of both worlds.
You really do.
Then also, I have a controller here, which is a bit of an odd one. So
it looks like the Sega Genesis with the attachment. Yeah, it's got a lot going on. Yeah,
I know. This reminds me of controllers you would see on the PC. I mean, back in the mid 90s, there was a lot of flight sims that came out on the PC, and they, Thrustmaster made tons of these. This is a really cool one. I like it a lot for one specific reason. You can unbolt it here, and it swaps over, and you can either be left or right.
Now, that is really awesome. That's giving love to left-handed and right-handed.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool control. And actually, a lot of games that came out on the Saturn do support it. Like some of them that we're going to talk about, like Panzer, Dragoon. There's a bunch of flying games, arcade shooters and stuff. Yeah. Pretty cool controller.
Really awesome.
Anything else as far as the accessories?
I think that just about does it.
Okay.
Let's talk about some games that go with these accessories.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you've seen the hardware, you've seen the accessories, now you need some games.
That's right.
So let's kick it off with Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Now, this is one of my favorite games for the Sega Saturn because it has great two-player modes on it. Pretty much kind of like Tetris Attack, you do combos and that messes up the other player, and you get the Street Fighter animations, and it's just a whole lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, so puzzle game for the Saturn collection, look out for it.
Okay.
So I'll give that to you.
Thank you.
You can hold that. And then I want to talk about a Japanese import here. Now, before I do, let's do a comparison here.
Yeah,
Two different cases.
This is important. So this is the North American releases that we get over here. And actually, I read that the reason why, I don't know if this is like an internet rumor or not, but the reason why we got in these long boxes here is because they had leftover stock from the Sega CD.
That would make sense.
It would totally make sense.
They're very similar.
But it's such a pain. These are, oh my God, this is one of the worst formats because they're often broken. They often don't stay closed.
Yep.
And because there's so much space in here for the CD, like in shipping, sometimes often the CD falls out and then rumbles around in there.
And scratches.
And gets scratched.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks cool on the shelf.
Yeah, and it feels like you have a game.
It does.
You're like, I'm playing a game.
Yeah, almost like a Neo Geo.
Yeah.
Like you pull it out, it's like,
you're not listening to a CD. You're playing a game.
But over in Japan, they were a little bit more sensible, and they had CD cases.
Yeah, they sure did.
Which definitely, I do like. One of the things to know about this is that they would often come with spine cards, and so in order for them to be considered complete, they'll have sometimes in there tucked in the manual this like little
the spine cards.
The spine cards.
Yep.
So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. So it makes it very easy to store your Japanese imports because they take up a smaller footprint, which is great because there's so many Japanese import games to get for the Saturn.
Yes.
I could talk to you about them all day, but I won't. I'll just talk to you about a couple of them. So this is the game Paradise. This is absolutely, if not my favorite game on the Saturn.
I want this game so much. I know.
You can't have it, but but it's great.
Yeah.
It's a shoot 'em up, and you just fly over an arcade, and there's wacky 90s anime villain humor to it, if you know what I mean. And I just love it. I love the cutesy teddy bear trying to, blow you up, and it switches to 16-bit. It's so good. There's so many great aspects to the game. I love it.
One thing I forgot to mention here too is that often on these imports, Japanese on one side and then English
on the other.
Very handy.
Yeah, party in the front and the back. No.
Kind of like my hair.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, great segue into the next game called Pocket Fighter. So you saw the arcade stick. You should get Pocket Fighter because there's so many good animations for this fighting game. There's Street Fighter, and there's that other game that I always forget. Night Stalkers. I didn't forget. I totally know what I was talking about. And they have such great animations. You play as this pyramid guy, and it's just... We played it many months ago, but we're just cracking up at these animations, and before you know it, you've played the game for over 2 hours. So it's pretty great.
That reminds me is that one of the great things about the Sega Saturn was that it is considered to be the best 2D console, as far as sprite work and backgrounds, and technically people consider to be actually better than the PlayStation 1. Like, it's the pinnacle of 2D. And so that's why, you know, it's not surprising that there's so many great games like these fighters, because they were amazing on the system.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
So, Pocket Fighter, pick it up.
Cool.
And then, if you can find this, go to your retro game shows and, you know, look at Craigslist and all that stuff. But this came with a purchase of your Sega Saturn.
That's right.
But there's 3-in-1. And these are just a great way to get 3 games for a pretty low price. They're usually not, you know, the high-ticket items.
Right.
And you get 3 different kinds. You get a light gun game, Virtua Cop. You get Daytona USA. You get your racing game. And then you get Virtua Fighter 2. You get your fighting game. So it's just a great way to get 3 different games that are, you know, these games are actually all pretty decent. So I recommend getting this 3-for-1.
Oh, classic arcade games. So that's
Definitely. Cool. And then switching it up, we got a very fun title here.
I know.
3 Dirty Dwarves.
It sounds like an adult film, right?
I don't want to watch it, but up to 3 players. You can have up to 3 players, and it's a beat 'em up. And side scroller, you got like 15 levels, and very funny story. You go underground, you gotta save people, you get to hit people with baseball bats and pretty much sports equipment. You know, it's pretty good. It's funny, and you get to play with other people. It's pretty great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I love my shooters. Horizontal, vertical, they're all good. And one of the best ones is, I'm going to say this, we're having a chat. Is it Darius or Darius Gaiden or Gaiden?
I think it's Darius Gaiden.
I want to say Darius Gaiden, but I don't really know.
And we talked about this in the Hidden Gems episode.
You know what it needs? It needs at the beginning of the game that guy who says the name, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it is, I don't remember. But
no, I'm just focused on playing the game because it's awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. If you like shooting weird floating ship, or like, fish ships. I have to say that carefully.
Yeah.
In space.
Watch out.
But this is such a fun game, especially when you have one of those control sticks, those arcade sticks with the turbo on it.
Yep.
Oh my God, you just destroy everything. Such a great game, great graphics. It's awesome. So I was playing it this week again.
Yeah. It's one you always go back to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
Okay, so moving right along, we got Magic Knight Rayearth.
Working designs too.
Yes, that when you see that pink company logo, you know it's going to be a quality game.
And also the covers,
they got everything. It's like the Pokemon foil card. It's everything that you want it to be. And if you like the anime, this does right by the anime. There's a lot of cinematics in it. There's great gameplay. It has a very Super Nintendo feel to it. So if you like those style of RPGs, definitely get Magic Knight Rayearth. And it's a long game too, so you're gonna get a lot of gameplay out of this one.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then next up is, again, one of my favorite games, Saturn Bomberman.
So this reminds me is that, like, at the Portland Retro Expo, occasionally people will be doing tournaments of this game. I mean, this is like, people love this game.
Yeah, they love it, and you can get the accessory to expand up to 10 players, I believe. 8 or 10 players.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's not enough good things I could say about this game. It's your typical Bomberman game, really, where you go through the levels and don't get blown up and beat the boss. Yeah, it's just it's really great. It's
considered a classic for sure.
Yeah.
And then a series that I think pretty much launched on the Sega Saturn and was certainly one of the series that people were like, you have to go out and just buy them. That is Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2. These are on-rail shooters, and they're just so unique. They're like kind of futuristic, post-apocalyptic feeling, though, but it's kind of like a fantasy world. The first one's really good. The second one improves it in pretty much every way as far as the controls and the graphics. These are just amazing games, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you like on-rail shooters, definitely check it out. But we have to mention that there is an incredibly rare game that is on the Sega Saturn.
Yep, there is.
And that is the third in the series, I guess.
Yes.
Panzer Dragoon Saga.
And a saga it is, because there are 4 discs.
That's right. But this is an RPG
Yep.
that's in that universe. And a lot of people consider this to be one of the best RPGs ever made.
Yeah.
Which is so cool that Saturn has a game of that caliber on there. I mean, I know it was in the making for a while. It
Yeah.
came out at the end of the Saturn's life.
Yes.
So it's this amazing game
Yep.
that just didn't sell a whole lot of copies.
Yep, and they didn't make a whole lot of copies either. So it's that perfect storm of you have a really great game at the end of the life cycle where there's not a lot of copies available, and that's why it's such a pricey game.
Right. Yeah. But it's definitely one that if you have the chance to play, you should check it out because, again, it's very unique, specific to the Sega Saturn. So it's cool that you have a copy of this.
It is pretty cool.
Definitely. All right. Well, that is our buying guide for the Sega Saturn.
Yeah, so you guys have so much things to add to your wish lists here.
Yes.
You have a lot of great games that would just give you a really holistic view of the Saturn. You got fighting, shoot 'em ups, beat 'em ups, RPGs, just so many great games on the Saturn. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's over 1,000, like we mentioned before. And so I'm kind of curious that, specifically myself, I'm always looking for those import games that I can play without knowing Japanese. So if you guys down in the comments would like to recommend some games to us that would be Japanese imports, to us and to the other people who are collecting for it, we greatly appreciate that. So
Yes.
be awesome. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
coming on. Where can people find you?
They can find me at my YouTube channel, Circuits and Coffee. And I talk about games and tech and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the cool stuff she does is tech specifically. So if you're looking at, like I was just mentioning to you, that your colored lights,
Yes.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff too, like what you're reading and you know,
Yeah. If you like nerdy, geeky culture, come over to my channel.
definitely. All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching my channel. Thanks for subscribing, and take care. One of my favorite videos that I've done with Anna was a game room or lady loft tour at her house. And what was so fun about that video is that we shot it all MTV Crib style. And so she was totally playing up the rock and roll, heavy metal lifestyle. It was a ton of fun. And she's got a really cool game collection as well. So you should definitely check that out. There'll be a link in the upper right, one of those YouTube cards. And also remember to be subscribed to my channel. I release 2 new videos every single week. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching.